Well, hello there. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Full Quota podcast. My name is Mpho and Tim. I've got Tim Dale Lace here with me. We present to you the number one podcast, cricketing podcast in South Africa. So please do keep on subscribing on Spotify, Apple. Let's get up those charts, leave comments, share with your friends. Also follow us on Twitter at Full Quarter Pod. I'm going to put the banner there at the bottom. Please do engage with us, and we thank you for the engagement. Also, yeah. Yes, and then we're also live on Facebook as well as YouTube at One World Sports Radio. They're our gracious hosts, so please do support them by subscribing, and you'll be notified whenever we go live. Um, yeah, it's been an interesting week, Tim. Very, very interesting week. We found out, we confirmed the dates for the India series, and we confirmed the dates for the New Zealand series, and there's a little bit of drama happening around them. We're going to be talking about that, but currently we've got the Ashes on the go. Australia putting up, I think it was 399. I'm sure when you
317.
watch 317, sorry, yes. So when you watch this, you'll know that England will have batted through. I think they batted through the session, 61 for 1 at lunch, I think. And they just, yeah, so it's going to be quite interesting. Obviously, I want Australia win. I'd rather Australia win 3, go to the Oval having won the Ashes. But I'm sure, Tim, you want a 2-2, so that it's a decider.
I want the decider. I want it to go right to the end. Big crescendo. And it's nicely poised. Let's put it that way. It's nicely poised on the fourth test. Yeah, should be good.
Yeah, no, it is. It is nicely poised. Yeah, just Australia not going in with a spinner. England putting Moeen Ali at number 3. It's just a interesting match, if I could say so myself. But yeah, yeah, and then we've also got Major League Cricket. Tim, have you been watching some Major League Cricket?
I have been watching a fair amount of it. We will be discussing it next week in more detail, giving you all a sort of a rundown of what's happened before the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I've enjoyed it. From what I've seen, I've enjoyed it. The cricket's been good. The standard's been good. I mean, that's to be expected when you've got 6 or 7 overseas players per team, and it's current players, guys who are playing international cricket right now. So the standard's been good. The pitch has been good. It's been a good T20 pitch. I've enjoyed it from a spectacle point of view. Coming from somebody who doesn't watch an awful lot of the T20 stuff, I've enjoyed it. Certainly, I've enjoyed the compactness of it as well. I think if it was, like an IPL sort of product, I would get tired of it eventually. But at the moment, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, new things tend to get a little bit more interest, and they're still nice when they're new. And the question obviously is season 2, season 3, season 4. Look at the CPL now; nobody even talks about the CPL, and that's actually going to start soon after this tournament as well. I've watched a few games. The thing that irritated me was Quinton de Kock. What is it? Wicket keeping with short sleeves. It was weird. And those little white undersleeves, whatever you call them, those little long sleeve vests or those little cut sleeves, and it just didn't look.
You weren't the only one. You weren't the only one. The one thing that I found, shall we say, slightly annoying, but I got it. After the first couple of games, the American Twitter was going, "We need conversion. We need conversions over in terms of bowling speeds. We need conversion in terms of the ground size." We've become accustomed to what it predominantly is. We've become accustomed to meters. And in terms of the ground, we've become accustomed to miles per hour in terms of bowling speed.
Although miles and yards.
And there have been Yes. No feet.
Oh, that's
They
easy.
did feet.
Australia
They
does it
did.
already.
They did feet for the ground. So feet for me was very confusing. I mean, if it works for the American audience, then I'm not going to complain. But for me, it was like I have to get my
The thing
my
with
calculator out.
the thing with feet, I divide it by six. So normally a human is around 6 feet or 5 feet. So you then I'll be like, okay, that's like 5 feet's like a meter for me. So yeah, don't quote me on this, but that's how I do it. So I know like
Yes. Yeah.
5 foot's no, it's not a meter, it's actually 1.5. And then that's how I then do the conversion. But
But it,
that's
but
what
it,
I
but
do it.
it's good that they did that because this is if you want the product to work in America,
Yes.
then you need to have it to what they are accustomed to. So, uh, me complaining about it, don't worry. I'll get used to it. I'll get accustomed to it. It's not a problem.
Okay, so we're not gonna change things to Tim. Okay, that's that's an interesting one. Okay, cool. So this week, we've South African cricket CSA agreed with two boards. We've got a what is it? It's a Boxing Day test against India. There's a three format series with India. We're gonna have ODIs, which T20s and ODIs, which will start at the beginning of December, around about the 16th, or a little bit earlier. And then you've got a Boxing Day test at Centurion, and then you also have a New Year's test in Cape Town. Now, once the New Year's test ends, we all assume that SA20 is going to start on the 8th of Jan, or between the 8th and the 10th of Jan. However, CSA then came and said, well, let's get all our business done for like the beginning of the year. There's a West Indies tour at the in the middle of next year as well. So that's also probably still in the pipeline, but that's not going to be an issue. So then they went to New Zealand, and New Zealand and South Africa agreed that the beginning of February, there'll be a two test match series in New Zealand. South Africa will be flying there. And the issue that's coming down, and we realized that with the South African Cricketers Association, who said that the fixture clashes are an issue largely because some players are going to be leaving some SA20 money behind because they'll go and represent the Proteas. Um, and that's where it all began. And then CSA said, no, they are waiting to see on two things. A, the dates of SA20, and B, which Proteas get selected into SA20. And then I was like, that's a little weird. But anyway, so Tim, the question for today, for our podcast today, is it worth withdrawing from the New Zealand Test Series in favor of SA20? Because Pulitsi Maseki, CEO of CSA, said that that's still on the table. New Zealand's not willing to postpone the dates, which is fair. And so now the question is, do you let it go or do you not? And we're going to try to break this down into a few things. The first thing is obviously, let's talk about it financially, Tim, right? Obviously, we know SA20 brings in a lot of money for CSA. And is it that much of a no-brainer from a financial standpoint to say, yeah, no, let's let it go? Or are there any other things that CSA need to look at and consider before they decide that from a financial perspective, we should just walk away?
I think it's a very tricky one. I tend to agree with Cricket South Africa in this instance, in that if you want Cricket South Africa to be financially viable for the next few years, SA20 has to be a success. And if you want SA20 to be a success, the Proteas have to be here. SA20 was guaranteed the Proteas players that were going to be picked. So if Markham was going to be picked, they were guaranteed that he was going to play every game. Not three quarters, not half, not 1/3, not when he wants to, every single game, obviously providing he's fit. And that goes with all the contracted Proteas players. So I only really see one solution for Cricket South Africa, and I don't. I hope they don't go the route we did last season and forfeit. I really hope that is not going to be the solution. I hope they go and they send out a second 11, basically a second 11. But because A,
Yeah.
I think a second 11 can beat New Zealand. It'll
Aye.
be much harder,
Yep.
harder. But I do think we can, and it does depend on who is selected SA20 in September when they have the draft. So, for example,
But we already
somebody
know
like
some of the players have been selected, right? Because
Yes,
the draft
no,
is only for guys who have been waived.
but yes, indeed. No, the pre-draft, the pre-draft guys that have been selected. That as far as we are concerned at the moment, anyway, they're staying. They're staying in South Africa. They're playing the entire tournament, unless SA20 relents and says, okay, they're going to be here for 3 quarters. It's problematic because they're going to go away if they come to an agreement that they go to New Zealand. They're going to leave SA20 at the major point of the competition, at the final stages, at the playoffs. That is problematic. I still think you can have a viable product if they are not there. I still think you can, but I think the route they're probably going to go in with is you're going to have Dean Elgar, Simon Harmer, Sapamla, who we interviewed last week, Lazard Williams.
Lazard.
No, you can come up with a 15, which would not disgrace the Protea emblem. There's no doubt in my mind that we could do that.
Guys, no.
There's no doubt
So
in
here's
my mind
my
we could
thing.
do that.
So-
But
so
I
this
don't
is
want.
where
I
I'm-
don't want to. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I think for me, this is where I'm at, right? We should not send a B team, right? If I get financially, it makes sense. And I think we shouldn't be looking at this from that perspective, right? If you want to grow, the problem with Test cricket is not because people don't like it. It's because administrators around the world have put Test cricket to the side. And this is another example of it, right? I If you want just for South Africa to be a T20 team, just like the West Indies are right now, it seems, right? This is the route you're going. You're now shunning opportunities to play test. Because I look at this World Test Championship 2025. If we win, we have a massive chance of winning the World Test Championship in 2025 or even getting to the final. Do you know how much goodwill you'd gain to have a team have that chance? You'd be going back to that Graham Smith side. Yes, this team pales in comparison to that 2012 Graham Smith side that conquered the world, but you'd get close enough. And your only opponent is England, India, and Australia. And you're playing India at home, and you're going to beat them like you did 2 years ago, right? So you've got those banked. Even a draw at home is fine against India. You can still do that. They struggle on our pitches. You just unleash Gerald, and we've got a blueprint, right? New Zealand, if you, Tim, say we can beat New Zealand with our second team, we have to try and take a first team. And my only question is, A, here's a couple of things. Why not postpone SA20 so for 2 weeks have a gap? Or two, just play the guys. So pay the guys per rata, or CSA pays the Protea players who are leaving those teams whatever portion of the salary is there. But they must represent South Africa and New Zealand. You cannot send that message. We've already sent that message that we care about limited overs cricket over test match cricket. But CSA, you can pay the 7 however many, and for instance, like let's look at the players in the squad, right? In the last test squad for against the West Indies, right? So Temba Bavuma, right? He's probably going to get picked up by a team, and he's going to get some money, right? So here's one: you're gonna have to compensate these people somehow, right? Tony DeZorzi didn't play a massive part in 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 SA20 last year, but he could this year. You don't know, and that's the problem you're putting yourself in, right? Dean Alga, chances are he won't be in SA20. That's fine. Hannah Clausen's important for the Durban Super Giants. So is Aiden Markram. Keegan Peterson, you can be like, okay, fine. Yes, that's okay. He might not get picked up. Ryan Rickleton's important for MI Cape Town. So is Marco Janssen. So is Vian Mulder. So Mutusami, not so much, but he could be picked up. We're looking for spinners now since, so you never know. Joe Kutsia is big for JSK. So the answer for me is not succumbing to SA20. It's just taking those players out, saying that SA20 is going to continue without them. Unfortunately, that's how it is. And if CSA needs to compensate the players for that portion of their salary for, I'm assuming, 2-3 games out of a 10-game strength, including playoffs, it's not going to be as a heavy bill compared to paying for the entire SA20 season. Leagues have continued with people going in and out playing international matches. The Big Bash continues while Australia plays test matches in the summer. That's how it should be seen. I don't think people should try and move. There's no, I get giving an opportunity to guys, but even in the second team, right, in the B team, Cal Verena, he's gonna want to be playing SA20, right? Who else? So for instance, Dean. So what does that 11 look like? Dean Alga. Who opens with Dean? Because there's no Aiden Markham, there's no
Sorrel.
Tim.
Bring back Sorrel.
That's gonna create a lot of confusion. Sorrel's just retired. Do you know? So, and aren't those players in the B team also part of SA20? Lazard Williams is going to be an important part of SA20 going forward next season. I think he is. Like he may not have played now, but that's the case. Lungi's part of the B team. If you're looking for a B team, he's playing for Paul, right? So if it's gonna get to a point where it's don't send a team, or um or tell the Proteas that they're going to leave SA20 10 days before. Or why couldn't we do what why couldn't we do like what we do with the England series when we had a break for those 2 weeks, right? That could have worked.
Yes, it can. It can. It definitely can. It's just that at this time, it's not coming in the middle of the competition. It's coming at the cracks of the competition. So that for me is from a SA. I'm talking as an SA20 representative here. That for me is a problem. If Aiden Markram, Heinrich Klaassen, Jonah Kutsia are out of the penultimate part of the competition, I'm automatically gonna go, it's devaluing my product. I can compensate it by signing an overseas player, but it's not the same.
What's the point of having a squad?
Yes, I get that. Yeah, but I guess what I'm getting at is this competition is not set in stone. It's not found its base yet. It's finding its base. It's new. What separates it from other ones is it's uniquely South African. There are lots of T20 competitions around the world where you have no idea. You have no idea where they're playing, who's in the competition, who the local players are. If there are any local players, it's just a mishmash of whoever. So if you want this to thrive, it needs to have a set base of South African players.
SA20 can last 2 weeks without Aiden Markram, Heinrich Klaassen, and Joe Kutsia, and Marco Janssen. They can last 2 weeks. My only issue is, so then maybe. So my thing is this, right? There's a few things that I'd like to see implemented, right? It's either A, you start earlier, which I doubt they will, or B, you have more double headers so that you make sure that from the 10th, so in effectively 20, 25 days, you've concluded the tournament. it's not. You can do that. They can do that,
You can do that.
right?
Yeah.
Even starting on the 8th of Jan, right? We conclude the India Test series on the 8th of Jan. We start, and we have 2 games a day, and you can conclude it at the back end of Jan. And to a certain extent, I don't think T20 should dictate the calendar. They should work around the calendar. Standards at the back, and I get it. And you don't want to. But my one point is, you can survive 2 weeks without those guys. I think it's an opportunity to see who's next waiting in the wings, and teams must prepare for that, right? So be prepared to have the absence of the Proteas, and that's how you win the tournament. We all know every team's going to be facing this. Okay, not all, some teams more than others, but you got to work around it. I think for me, CSA bending over backwards and doing that, I players must get paid full amount for their time in SA20, whether they're in New Zealand or not. That I can agree with, but I cannot agree with keeping Aiden Markram, because the other thing is that what's more important, is representation of your country more important, or playing for SA20 that will still have crowds even if those Proteas are gone? No one's going to be like, no, we're not going to go to the Proteas in New Zealand. We're not going to go to the stadium when you've been entertained. And that for me was the thing. SA20's created an expectation of entertainment, and that entertainment is not necessarily relying on the test playing Proteas, right? Aiden Markram didn't have a great SA20 until those final 2 games. Actually, that one game where he scored 100, which is a semi-final, right? Timber wasn't selected in the first SA20 anyway, right? He got picked up at the end for measly amount of money. Heino Klossen's the only one where Durban would be worried not to keep, but they've reinforced the batting. They've got Banuka Rajapaksa. They can do that now, right? And they know Heinok's going to be gone for the final 2 weeks. Even with the Pretoria Capitals last year, when the Englishman left, the one who was scoring lots of Will Jackson, the other people, another guy, they brought in the Sri Lankan. I think it was Dhananjaya De Silva. No, was it? Yeah. No, was it Dhananjaya?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And he did a really great job. So why are we? I don't want to say why is this a discussion, but it's our podcast discussion. But my thing is that I don't get why this is such a big thing. CSA's mandate, and here we go. CSA's mandate is to grow the game of cricket and to protect the interests of the South African national teams. CSA cannot move. You cannot send a B team. So look at that SAA. Let's actually look at the SAA team, right? And see, because that's the B team, right?
Yeah. It's effectively there. Yeah.
Yes, they're the B team, right? And I'm just learning it up here. But Tony DeZorzi, right? I think Tony was overlooked in the previous SA20. Corbin Bosch, he's playing for Paul. They're not going to want to have him go. Matthew Bretzker, he's someone he's going to be playing in SA20. Diego Brevis is in SA20. Joe Coetzee is in SA20. Zubair Hamza probably could go because he's probably not going to get one. Jordan Herman's in SA20. Tapo Moreki, possibly he could be there. Senna Mutusami could be there. Keegan Peterson could be in thingy. Sinatema Tashile, same thing, could be there. Luto Supamla. Tristan Stubbs is in SA20. Calvin Rain is in SA20. Lazard Williams is in SA20. We're going to get hiding to nothing. I'm sorry. I wouldn't do that. As great as those players are who not going to be in SA20, it sends the wrong message. It creates... I get it if it was even the argument with IPL, right? I don't understand why we are beholden to the IPL. But just pay the players. I know you don't have money, but you surely can cobble up a few cents from the money you're going to make from the New Zealand tour to pay the players, right? And also, what does the national contract say? The national contract says, as my employee, I can deploy you wherever you need to be. It doesn't say wherever you need to be except SA20. SA20 is the one that needs to move if they're worried that they're going to lose the purchase. And that's where I think it is. Because if you are a contracted SA player, if you aren't contracted and you've got an SA20 contract, that's fine. That's okay. But if you sign a contract with CSA to be one of those 15, 16 players that they pay a salary every year to not do anything else but play cricket, you will honor that trip. You're not gonna waiver. They'll try if New Zealand's not gonna postpone, SA20 needs to find a way to move it.
Yes,
That
no, no,
essentially is
no.
my argument.
Yeah, no, the movement has to come from SA20. If there's movement to be made, SA20 has to relent and say, we've got a 10-year contract with Joburg Super Kings. We will make that money up. We might not make the money up as soon as we want to, but we will make the money up because we are staying here for a minimum of 10 years. So they need to. So yes, in terms of what you pointed out, it's the movement has to come from SA20. SA20 has to go. We have these players. It's still a fantastic product. We still have 90% of the squad we want, because they're going to have 95% of the squad that they have. It's not. We're not decimating the squads. They need to make the movement. I just hope that they do. I hope that they allow this to happen. That they allow those players to go and play that test series, because that is what matters. At the end of the day, playing for your country. We always talk about rogue personnels and all that kind of thing. Playing for your country should be number one.
Yeah.
So yes,
Tim?
yeah. Yes.
Yeah, you went a little muffled for your point.
Okay.
I thought it would clean up, but it didn't.
It didn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just repeat it if I can.
Yeah, no,
I think
it feels like you're cutting. You are cutting through. But
Is it working? Is it better
Yeah.
now? Not so much.
Better. You sound very robotic. That's the only issue. Because I got your point where you're saying that.
Yes,
Uh,
but it's yeah. Everything seems
Yeah.
to be.
Okay. Tim, I'm losing you. But I think, yeah. Hopefully we can get you on a, as they say, on a better line. But I do think, I do think SA20 and CSA need to talk about it, right? Need to figure out a way, need to figure out a compensation mechanism. I don't think SA20 will lose much by not having the purchase. Yes, it kind of dampens the tournament. And maybe one of the key issues about these T20 tournaments around the world is that players keep on leaving and it reduces the quality of the play, right? But if you want to have a T20 calendar in the future tours program, that's what's going to happen. So you're going to have to figure out. And the other question for me was, I understand the need for a New Year's test. My question was, is it financially viable to not have a New Year's test, but have SA20 start in the New Year's test place? So, Tim, here's my question, right? South Africa and India could have agreed to not have a New Year's test. We could have had a test on the 16th of December, and we could have had a Boxing Day test. And
Scandalous.
no, but here's the thing. Listen to me. I was telling the viewers while you're trying to get yourself on. Is it not better to have SA20 start on the 2nd of Jan? Is it not more financially viable to have SA20 start on the 2nd of Jan? And you could even have like a Western Cape swing, right? Where everyone plays on the coast, right? And you start SA20 in that week. And wouldn't it be more financially viable for CSA that way? Instead of having a New Year's test, you have a Boxing Day test, you have a test on the 16th because it's India. You'll always get fans, right? And then and then you do it like that, because then you've covered your situation with New Zealand. Because that's my thinking, right? If we were worried about money, right? What brings in more money? Is it SA20 or is it a New Year's test? Is it 8 to 10 games of SA20 in that period, or one New Year's test that could end in 3 days?
Except you are taking away something that is iconic to the South African schedule. You're taking away something
Isn't
that
Test cricket
is
iconic to South African cricket?
the New Year's test is.
Yes,
The
but
New
isn't
Year's
Test
test.
cricket as a whole iconic? Why are we
Yes,
trying
but
to dilute one part but not willing to take away the other side?
I get your point. I do get your point. But the more movement of Test cricket, the more, even if you are trying to move it in a different direction, try to make it more viable in a different direction, it is going to devalue the whole setup of it. I do get your point, but I'm not sure I agree with it. I just think they need to come to an agreement. The two parties, Cricket South Africa and SA20. We've given a few solutions here. I'm a big fan of the double header situation. In terms of, I'm going to go back to the English setup. When they have finals day, when they have the semi-final and the two semi-finals at the final, all on the same day, all at the same ground, it adds so much to the spectacle of the competition, of whatever competition is. So,
But
I
you
think
lose
something like that.
broadcast, you lose advertising revenue, and that's why my question goes to that. Right? Is that I don't mind, like, finals day is weird because you could have, because effectively you're now making people sit for 7 hours with breaks, but sit to watch, which is technically what people thought was wrong with cricket, right? Who's going to be sitting there for 6 hours, 7 hours watching people hit a ball on a bat, right? And you effectively send it to like a baseball equivalent, right? Also, I want to honor teams. No, not really, but I think Graham has an idea that it's like an IPL style finals week, and I understand the dilution of not having your star Protea players in there, but you still have Quinny if he qualifies, if they make it through. You still have Riley Rousseau. You still have David Miller. You still have Lungi if Lungi's not going to New Zealand. Kagiso hasn't been the best T20 bowler in the world, but you can make it work. Jofra Archer and all of those guys. There are ways where you can still honor the quality of the game without necessarily having the approaches. And my thing is, we need to think about that, and also figuring out ways to shorten the tournament, right? Finals week kind of works, but it can't be a full week. It can be 3 days, right? You teams qualify for the playoffs on the Tuesday, the first semi-final. If the two semi-finals can actually be played on the same day, right? And then the final on the Saturday, and we go home, right? Or we can do the finals week, but SuperSport may not like that. They want, to sell advertising over days and create the suspense and everything else.
I think I obviously like the final day, but you can certainly do that. You can certainly do semi-finals at the same day, make it enough. There's enough sort of advertising space for that.
Yes.
It's the two semi-finals, games that matter, and then have the final. It's a completely separate thing. You can have a live band beforehand, and you can make a real day of it if you want to. And if you just want to watch the cricket, you go and watch your cricket for 2.5 hours. So there are definitely ways you can go around it. I think we both agree that what is happening right now can't work. It can't sit like it is. We can't have a competition where it dictates what the Proteas do and who the Proteas play. It can't. I know that the T20 world is like that. I know that's becoming more and more of an issue, but that it can't be. It can't be a situation where the horse is already belted. The horse is about to
Because
belt. We need to make the
yeah,
best of the situation, rather than be
yes, because
yeah.
New Zealand, Australia, India are not making these choices. We shouldn't be making these choices. And to a certain extent, sending a B team will dilute the value of the World Test Championship because then automatically it puts the World Test Championship on the chopping block. Champions Trophy is now gone, right? The 50 over World Cup is the next one on the chopping block. And next thing, we won't have a World Test Championship in 2027 and 2029 because we're not honoring fixtures. Honor the fixture. Also, where are the players employed? I get South African Cricket Association. If you have a contract with CSA to be a Protea international player, I don't care how much you earn at SA20, you will go where we tell you to go. And if you don't want to go there and take SA20 money, we'll gladly give your contract to somebody else. And that should be the line. We are willing to work with SA20, but you're my employees. You're not like golfers as independent contractors. You're not like tennis players. South African cricket contracts you to represent South Africa. So on the first of so whatever that first test is, Kagiso's bowling that first ball. Aiden Markram is in the slips. Temba's walking around, moving his charges around. Gerald Coetzee with his little armband or headband will be on the field getting ready to bowl the next over. Marco Jansen will be doing his little stretches at gully as the world's tallest gully, and that is what was going to happen. Heino Klassen might have the gloves, might not, but he'll be there. And why? Because you're contracted with CSA. Who's your employer? CSA. This other revenue is yours. You can take it, but everything else, and that's where CSA should sit. They've tried the postponing. They were nice. I wouldn't be nice. I'd go to SA20 and say fit it in. Essentially, that's what it's supposed to be. So, for me, it shouldn't even be a discussion. If you're employed by CSA, you do that. If you're in and around the squad and you don't have a CSA contract, that's a totally different argument. So, for instance, if Carl Verena, who doesn't have a contract, was picked for this tour, he can say, but I'm earning 5 million here. Why do I need to go to New Zealand? That's a totally different argument. But if you're a contracted player, I'm seeing you in New Zealand. There's no such thing of B team here. And then you have to pay match fees to the B team. That's the thing, right? You're taking uncontracted players, taking them to New Zealand. Now you have to pay the match fees, per diems, and the like. Whereas these oaks I'm paying you already. Now I have to add more costs. No, man. Small things. Yeah. So
the final point I want to make is it's 2 test matches. 2 test matches. It's not 2 test matches, 5 ODIs, 3 T20s, 3 warm-up games. It's 10 days.
Yeah.
Okay, you have to be there a little bit more than 10 days, but it's 15 days.
Look, if you're gonna miss, and let's say you're gonna miss 3 out of the 10 games, right? The 10 games you need to play. That's 30% of your revenue.
Yeah.
You're it's like Tristan Stubbs is like 6 million rand. Like, dude, and it's over 2 years. So like, you really that's like 15% of the revenue they owe you, of the money they owe you. Like, no, guys, no. CSA needs to be a little bit harder on this and push SA20 a little bit more. And even if it means that we have double headers in that first week of Jan, then we have double headers in that first week of Jan. But yeah, we need to get through 30 games. Just get through 30 games. And yeah, if people need to leave, people need to leave. It's not a train smash. We'll just plan better for next year. Then whoever's coming back next year for the 2024 December swing might not get a New Year's test because we are falling over SA20. I don't know. Who knows? That's my 2 cents on this. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Yes,
this is going to be an issue. Just for people to know, this is going to be an issue till 2025. So I think it's slightly less problematic next year, but it is still going to be an issue at this point in time. So until we get to 2025, when we can come to the end of the WTC, then we can start to think about doing proper scheduling and proper. So just we have to
Yeah.
sort out what we have at the moment. We can't go
Yeah.
into the situation as it stands.
And look, I'm a fan of SA20. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate, and yeah, I'm trying to preserve Test cricket. I do think that there is value. If Tim sees value in the New Year's Test and thinks it's more valuable than us playing 8 T20s in that period, SA20 T20s, then that means that there's something in Test cricket that's worth fighting for. So let's not go down that route. Look at what it's done to the West Indies. Look at what it's doing to other smaller nations around the world. We're now playing 2 Test series against India. What is this? 2 tests against India. Like
Yeah.
when we were flat broke at CSA, we played 4 tests against India. They've got more money now, and now we're playing 2.
I know. No, look, I can only laugh. I can only laugh. That's the only option. No, it's scandalous. It's
And the
scandalous.
thing is, right, we're playing ODIs and T20s. I'm like, but we've just come out of an ODI World Cup. And also, the T20 World Cup is like in Bangladesh. I'd rather play T20s in India and have the whole of December Test match cricket. Like, yeah, that's what I'd like to do. It's India. You're going to get millions of people watching across different platforms, and the stadiums will be full because it's India.
Because India, yeah. Yeah.
Guys,
Yeah.
just
And
2. And we
But
played 4 when we were broke. Aye, guys.
it's because we've copied and pasted. We've said we're only going to play 2 test matches, and that we've just copied and pasted that against anybody. Whoever's scheduled, it's copy paste. 2 test matches,
In
2 test
December,
matches.
even when people can send their kids to the game. Aye, guys. Think about it, right? 16th of December, you play a test match at the Wanderers, right? So everyone who's just come out of school holidays can go to the Wanderers. Then you have a test match on the 26th, right? That's a Boxing Day at Centurion. Centurion people love cricket. Lazard told you this last week. They love their cricket. That place will be packed, right? Then you send people to Cape Town, and then you do the New Year's Test because everybody loves New Year's Test, and we'll all be there, right? And then you can stay on for the start of SA20. I don't get at least 3, like not 2,
Yes.
but it helps us.
It's got to be a
because
minimum.
It helps us. I just hope Shukri has them like on the ball because best believe we cannot lose a single test in that series. If you want to go to the World Test Championship final, you have to beat India 2-0. We start with a 2-0 win. And then we go to New Zealand and we can't do the whole jet lag thing. I don't know what was going on in that first test. 2-0 there. You go 4-0 up. You have a 100% win record. And then we go to West Indies and we take them on there. And then Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, we go to the World Test Championship in South Africa. Then you'll then decide what you do with Australia in that final. But yeah, that's how I see the World Test Championship. We can win it. We can win a trophy, guys. And now we're making decisions like this. So yeah. Anyway, enjoy your cricketing week. Enjoy the Ashes. Enjoy MLC, Major League Cricket. Seeing Quinton de Kock in short sleeves is weird, but okay. And yeah, we'll be back on Monday with a podcast interview. Well, no, just watch the space. Follow us. Spotify, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, on YouTube, Facebook, and also follow us on Twitter at the Full Quarter Pod. For myself and Tim, it's goodbye and lesale kakahiso.